Welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Weemy, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up. Hey everybody, welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lachelle Weemy. It is so fun to be here and maintain this beautiful momentum of time management. If you guys have been tuning in for the last couple of weeks, you know that I've been dedicating these episodes to getting super productive and very intentional with our time. Because when we maximize our time, we can accomplish so much more. Our impact and our income grows, and we actually just feel like we have our stuff together, right? And so I wanted you guys to have the tools that have helped me the most to really maximize my time. And I'm just going to tell you that today is the Maximize Your Time Masterclass. It is not too late to register, so I want to make sure that I shout that out now before I forget, because it's going to be a jam-packed 4-hour workshop that I'm going to teach you all of my best tips for delegation and automation and organization and prioritization and all the cool things that it takes to really level up and really master our time. And so I want to make sure that you guys know about that. But today, what I want to do is I want to talk about what it's like to have a true 8-hour day as an entrepreneur and know that you got everything that you wanted to get done, that you were using that 8 hours effectively and efficiently, and you were really bossing it up when it comes to managing your time. Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes as an entrepreneur, it feels like we traded our 9 to 5 to 24/7, right? And, it wasn't that long ago. It was just over a year that I left my 20-year, full-time anesthesia career to really go after my entrepreneurial dreams. And I got to tell you that I struggled both when I was balancing my full-time demanding career and building a business, and when I was literally just, this was my main focus. Because what I have found with both myself and the people I talk to is that we struggle with one of two things when it comes to time management. You either feel like you don't have enough time, or you don't know what to do with the time that you have. And so therefore we waste time. And at the end of the day, we're like, what the heck did I accomplish, right? And so what I want to do is give you guys some of my very best tips and my hacks to really make the most out of that 8-hour day, okay? And I feel like sometimes we feel like we've traded the time freedom that we really wanted when we started our business because we don't have very well managed time. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So, as a nurse anesthetist, you guys, I had a really freaking good career, right? I loved my job. I enjoyed my patients. I enjoyed the critical thinking aspect of it. I enjoyed so much of what I did. But the truth is that I lacked the time freedom that I needed to be able to fulfill all of my other passions, right? I was stuck. I loved what I did, but at the end of the day, ultimately, I didn't have any control over when my day ended. There could be another surgery added, or maybe I needed to stay for a colleague and, didn't really get a say in it. And it really did put a damper on the things that I wanted to be able to accomplish, on a single given day. I also didn't get the time off that I wanted, or, couldn't choose the time off, or the time off that I had offered to me was not enough to fulfill my wanderlust, right? If you guys follow me, you know that I absolutely love to travel. I want to see the world. I want to take my family on all of these amazing trips because let's be real, when you grow up on a farm, you don't get to go anywhere. My parents didn't have a lot of money and they couldn't leave the farm. And so I didn't get to travel. My first airplane ride was when I was 19 and I caught the bug. And now I want to see as much of this beautiful world as I can. And so when I started my business, it really was this motivation of time freedom. I wanted to be able to make an impact and income, but on my terms. I wanted to be able to have the and life that I talk about all the time, where I just have this amazing impact, right? But I also get to be a more present mom and wife. I also get to do the things that I want to do, work from where I want to go. And it's just one of those things where you go into this and you're like, that's what I want. Like the money is great, but the money also is what's funding the fact that I can have this freedom, that I get to take my family on a 2-week vacation out west, that I get to, go on a trip to Hilton Head, South Carolina tomorrow, just because I can with my family, right? And so I knew that I needed to find a way to maximize my time so that I was using the 8 hours that I had each day to the fullest, that was getting as much done as I possibly could so that I could enjoy the freedom. But I think oftentimes as an entrepreneur, we feel like we're a slave to our business. It just doesn't shut off. And I'm going to tell you a little story. So, I got to admit, like my husband had a few interventions with me when I first started my first online business, my network marketing company that I started probably 7 years ago now, because I saw the vision and I wanted to create this beautiful life of time freedom. And I felt like I had to sacrifice all of these things to make it happen. And I was tied to my phone. And I'll be honest with you, like when you're passionate about your work, it doesn't feel like work sometimes. And so time can definitely get away from you. And so I'm not going to ignore that facet of this. But really, it's like when you're hustling for the big picture and you know that you can do this as long as you kind of put in the work now, it's really easy to get off course. And so I want you guys to know that you don't necessarily have to do the 24/7 thing, right? You don't have to do the 24/7 thing. You don't have to be a slave to your business. You can actually start to use the hour that you have or the 8 hours that you have in the most efficient and effective way possible. And it's going to give you the life that you want. Okay. Now, one of the main things, and the things I want to start with is just you have to have a plan, right? So it doesn't matter if you are, building your business alongside your career and you're trying to find things in your nooks and crannies of your day and you're maximizing your lunch breaks, your coffee breaks, and your commute, right? Or if you literally get to wake up on Monday morning, you're like, all right, like what should I do today? If you don't have a plan, then you're not going to get done everything that you could get done because you're wasting valuable time and energy thinking about what it is that you want to do. It is very inefficient and very ineffective. So one of the things that I got in the habit of doing after meeting the soul planner creator, Sarah Light, is really getting into a habit on the weekend. So either a Saturday or Sunday. For me, it's Sunday. And I brain dump everything that I have going on that week. Everything, because it allows me to get it out of my head and it clears up this beautiful brain energy. So I brain dump everything that I have to get done. I also utilize my Trello board that I use for organization. If you guys haven't gotten that, I'll make sure to put the link in the show notes, as well as the link to the Soul Planner, because they're both like amazing time productivity tools. So when I brain dump, then instead of just like knowing that I have this giant to-do list, what I do then is I assign those tasks to my calendar. So I will look at my calendar and say, you know what, I have a bunch of appointments on, Monday, but I'll have time on Tuesday to do that. So I assign it first a day and then I assign it a time of the day. And I literally treat it like any other appointment, as if I was meeting with a client or I was going to the dentist. Because now once I have that task assigned to that time, then I have to 100% commit and follow through on my word. I have to have integrity with my word. I have to do what I say I'm going to do. I said it, I did it. I said it, I did it. And that really does help when I can assign that task ahead of time. So that way, when I wake up on Monday morning and I look at my calendar, I'm like, all right, time to get started. This is what I have first, just like any other appointment. If you are building your business alongside your career and you're like, all right, I'm done with work, what do I do? It's Saturday morning. What do I do? If you already have it on your calendar, if you already have it as if it's an appointment, there's no more guesswork. It's literally just like, now I need to do it. Okay. The second thing that I want you to think about is maybe if you're struggling with like getting into the flow of things, one of the things that I've done is I will purposefully book appointments with clients or with people at 8 a.m. So my workday starts at 8. My kids and my husband leave for school at 7:15. It gives me some time to, get myself ready. And then at 8 o'clock is when my day starts. If I don't have something on my calendar at 8, it's really easy for me to kind of just get caught up in like, oh, this like busy work that I'm like, I air quotes busy because it's not stuff that I necessarily need to be doing, but it's taking up my time. And so I'm not very intentional with my time. And so if I have an appointment scheduled at 8 a.m., it means that I need to get my butt out of bed, and it means that I need to get myself put together. And I got to be honest with you, like when I'm wearing jeans and a cute shirt and I've done my hair, I am way more energetic and way more productive than I am if I'm just sitting in my yoga pants and a ponytail. It's just me. I'm wondering if it's you too. So getting an appointment on your calendar right at the beginning of the day allows you to have to get into that space, into that state early on. So I would definitely consider utilizing that strategy to kind of get your momentum going. I also want you to consider limiting distractions. So many people I talk to find that working with the TV on in the background seems to, in air quotes, work for them. And I'm going to call BS on that, because you do not concentrate at the manner and the level that you need to be super productive with your time if you have something going on in the background. And so you might hear something and it's going to take your attention away, and you'll get caught up in watching it for a couple minutes and then you go back to your work. Or I find that people do not set a do not disturb on their notifications on their phone, and they'll get a ding, they'll get a notification from Facebook, they'll get a notification for text message and various things. And again, it takes their attention away from what they were working on, and it puts it into that notification. So whether it be the TV or whether it be your phone, anytime you have something that takes away your attention from what you're working on, it can take your brain up to 23 minutes, you guys, to get back to the same level of focus that you were before that distraction interfered. So if you think about that, like how many times during an hour you're distracted, you'll see that you're getting like inches done when you could be getting miles done by not allowing things to interfere with that focus and that flow, because it does take time to get back into the swing of things. And so I want you to really second guess whether or not you should turn that TV on. And I really want you to put on do not disturb, and do not allow people to interrupt your day into your flow. Their emergency is not your emergency. People in my world know that I don't always get back to them very quickly, because this is what I do, is I put my phone on do not disturb. Like they're not going to maybe hear from me for a while. My clients that I serve, they get Voxer access with me, but they know that I have 24 hours to get back to them. And that's why, because I will put my phone on do not disturb so that I can get into clear focus and maximize the time that I have that I'm working on something, because it does take too long for your brain to switch back. Multitasking is a fallacy, you guys. Like I think as women, we have had to learn to do that when we are taking care of kids and we're working and all the things. But just because we can doesn't mean we should, guys. And so I really want to encourage you to give yourself that permission to focus. I also like to set a timer, because a timer allows for me to know exactly how much time that I have devoted to that. So like I've already mentioned, I will have an appointment, let's just say working on social media for the week. And I will have it on my calendar from 10 to noon, let's just say. So I have a 2-hour chunk. I will set a timer for 2 hours. I will have my phone on do not disturb, and that will be my focus. Now, what happens to our brain is that when we feel like things are in scarcity, right? They're limited. It prevents us from wasting something. Just like if I feel like my money is scarce, or, things that I feel like I have a limited access to, I'm going to hoard them a little bit tighter, right? So subconsciously or consciously, you're going to protect your time a little bit better. So if I know that I gave myself 15 minutes to interact with people and engage on Instagram, I set my timer for 15 minutes. It keeps me from getting sucked into the scroll hole, because I know that I'm there on purpose, for a purpose, on a mission to engage, which means commenting, liking, interacting, being a social person on social media, right? And then when that 15-minute timer's up, it's gone. Because if I get sucked into the scroll, I will literally lose my 15 minutes and I've lost my productivity. And it keeps me on task. Now, one of the things that I discovered a couple of years ago from a coach that I've used is this egg timer. So, a lot of them look like a tomato. This one happens to look like a monster. I got it on Amazon. So if you are not, if you're not watching this, if you're just listening, I will post a link to the Amazon link in the comments. But you'll notice that there's a tiny little tick every time there's a second. And what happens is that it's not distracting enough that it's going to, prevent me from getting into deep focus and work, but it's just enough for me to have this auditory cue that time is slipping by. Each second that it's ticking is reminding me that you do not have time to get distracted by the laundry or the dishes that are in the sink, or, what's on Facebook. Did anybody comment on my post? All of those things become secondary because that timer really does make you aware that that time is scarce, and you only have this much time to do something. So it's one of those things that I feel is really helpful to keeping yourself on task. Now, I also am a huge fan of batching time. What do I mean by batching? Batching just essentially means that you take a block of time and you devote it, a larger block of time, to devote to something that you need the creative flows going and flowing, okay? So for example, in the human design, I am a generator. That means that I need to get into creative flow. And once I'm there, like, I can stay there as long as I'm not distracted. And so I think about that, like writing my book, Get Out of God's Way, in 6 days is why that happened, right? Like, I was able to set my alarm for 5 a.m. I took everything else off my calendar that week. And I literally sat and I wrote and I got into flow, and I stayed in flow pretty much all day long. And so when you can batch your time, that allows you to get into and stay in creative flow. And so if you kind of, how do I put this? Like, if you are trying to get creative with social media, and then you have to switch over to bookkeeping, and then you have to switch over to this podcast, and then you have to switch over to something else, it's really, really hard for you to get into that flow, especially if you are a generator in human design or manifesting generator. And so what I want you guys to do is to think about, okay, how much time would it take for me to get 7 days worth of social media done for the week? And I can devote this amount of time, this chunk of time, maybe it's the morning on Mondays, and you can devote that time and you can get into flow. And it's amazing because once you can kind of get in that space, that zone, you're going to knock things out left and right because you're already there, instead of having to kind of drum up that creativity and then you get something done for the day, and then the next day you do it again. So try it and see how it works, because it's going to help you to get so much more done. And then you don't have the pressure of having to figure it out for the rest of the week. You know that it's done. And that leads me to one of the things that I also do, is I have delegated different days of the week for different tasks. So I know that Mondays are my CEO days. That means that this is a day that I do get into my social media. This is the day that I get to really look at my business and what priorities that I have for the week. And, how does that align with my big picture quarter goals, my big picture monthly goals, and, my yearly goals, all the things, right? And that Q2 productivity stuff. That's my Monday, right? And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are my client days. So you can see how I can kind of get into the flow. So on Mondays, those tasks, those CEO day tasks are clumped together in a very similar energy of creativity and productivity and what I need. Tuesdays and Thursdays, when I'm doing client work, like, I'm staying in that flow. I'm not having to switch back and forth between doing social media and then meeting with a client and then doing my bookkeeping and then switching back to something else. Wednesdays are my connecting days. So that's when I network. That's when I do connection calls. That's when I do breakthrough calls. That's when I do podcast interviews for other people. So that really will help you to just stay in the space to allow you to get more done. Okay. Now, the other thing that I just want to mention, because it's such a cool tool, you guys, is I have a software program that I use that I can dial in the frequency of different energies that I can essentially allow for my body to align with. Okay, so I can pick an energy frequency of, let's say, creativity or focus, determination, finish, success, right? I can, because scientists have figured out what frequency those emotions are and those actions are, I can dial that in of what I want. And then because of resonance energy, I'm not going to get into all the quantum physics around this, but because of resonance energy, I can dial this in, and then it literally helps to bring my own body's energy and the electrons within my body up to that level. And so I have that running in the background when I want to get into those creative spaces, or I really want to be determined to finish a project or success. And so I get to utilize really cool things like that. And I would be more than happy to give you a snapshot. So just why don't you reach out to me personally if you want some link to that? And I'll also put in the show notes a way for you to get a little snippet of the video that I created around that energy frequency stuff, so that you have it. Okay. The next thing that I want you guys to do is reward yourself, right? Reward yourself. It can be daunting to think about doing this all day long every day. When you are an entrepreneur, you do not have a time clock to punch in and punch out of, right? You don't have anybody over your shoulder saying that you need to get this done by this day. It's a lot of self-imposed deadlines and a lot of self-imposed determination and motivation that's required. And so if you can reward yourself, like, hey, Lachelle, if you can stay focused for, the 30 minutes that it takes to do this, like I want you to treat yourself to this latte that you never let yourself have, right? Or, hey, if you can get all of your social media planned out for the week, then reward yourself with an hour of Suits with your husband tonight on Netflix, right? And so whatever it is that would motivate you, give yourself a little reward for it. I've also used things like a tallying, where I'll give myself a tally for each time that I do something that I really want to do. And then I let each tally be worth $1. So then when I want to buy something like super, like unnecessary for myself, it allows those little activities to help work towards something that I, really want but don't need. And those tiny little ways to reward yourself actually do help. And so find ways to help with that. Okay. Accountability is also huge. So if you have an accountability partner to say, let's just say, your goal is to have 5 connection calls with potential clients each day. All right. And you know that is a very income producing activity that you want to maintain consistency with. Maybe have an accountability partner where each day you check in with each other, and that allows you to maintain that as a priority and actually get it done. And I oftentimes will invite some of my girlfriends over to have what I call nerd dates, where the two of us will sit next to each other and we'll just work all day long. It keeps me focused enough that I'm not interrupted by things like the laundry or the dishes or things, because when you work from home, it's easy to do. If I have somebody sitting next to me on the couch and they're editing photos and I'm, working on, creating ideas for podcasts or an upcoming challenge or social media or whatever, it keeps me focused on the tasks. So then like the two of us sitting there have goals and we get a chance to essentially encourage each other. And I really haven't found that it's too much of like chit chatting. Like when we first get there, we're like, hey, how are you? We talk for a few minutes. And then it's like, all right, like let's maximize this time together and we get to work. And so I actually find that I get more done when I find a business bestie that I want to just have a nerd date with and let's knock some stuff out. All right. I feel like there's so much that we could talk about when it comes to this stuff, you guys. And it does sometimes feel like, Lachelle, I don't know how I'm going to get everything on my to-do list done. Or, I no matter how much I follow your tips, I still can't quite get that time freedom that I really wanted. And I'm just going to tell you guys, this is my little truth with a hug for today, that sometimes we just need to reevaluate your business model. You have to create your business with intention in order for you to design the life that you want. Your business could very easily take over everything for you, and you can feel like a slave to it, and you don't have that time freedom, and you feel like you are working 24/7, and it's really, really hard. And I just want to say that sometimes it just goes down to looking at the business structure that you have, looking at the price points that you have, looking at ways that you are maybe missing out on some automations or some delegation, or maybe it's just a matter of shifting a couple of things. If that is you and you're really still struggling with this, you've done all the things that I'm mentioning, we definitely need to talk. So schedule a breakthrough call so the two of us can get a chance to look at your situation, and I can try to not try. Guys, those of you guys that know me, all my clients are like, you can't say try because it's such a weak word. I will give you some clarity. I will give you some clarity around what it is that you can do. to get yourself unstuck. And so we need to just schedule that. So there's a link in the show notes for you to schedule a breakthrough call. And I also want to, again, invite you to join me for the Maximize Your Time Masterclass that starts today. Now, if you cannot make it live, do not stress out. I'm going to have replays inside of the Better Club until Monday, November 13th. And so there's still time to be able to access the replays if you can't make it live today. I also want you guys to remember that there's always an access to a VIP that gives you lifetime access, but you have to access that like now, because once everything is taken down, like you can't access that again. So I want to make sure that you're leveraging that. Make yourself a priority. Once I found out that time management and really getting myself, I don't know, like getting my shit together basically helped me to level up. And that's what I want for you too. All right. So let's stop making excuses. Let's stop letting the day completely get away from us. Let's stop, wondering what the heck happened, and let's start being intentional around it, because I want you to win. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to continue to see you thrive. And I'm going to be going over some more time management tips next week on the Spiral Up podcast. Oh my gosh. Bye, you guys. So much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to im-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough. or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, log into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.